Thanks so much for joining us on BBC News. I just want to ask you, first of all, how significant you think it is that Ireland, Norway and Spain decided that they will recognize Palestinian statehood?
Well, look, I think in diplomacy, timing is the fairy dust of all. And here, unfortunately, the timing isn't right. The United States recognized that, and France chimed in as well. Our country supports a two-state solution. Most do. But have you cleared your conscience or have you cleared the way forward? I think the role of guilt here is underappreciated. And I think that's what's driving some of this. We all feel horrible seeing the images and the reporting coming out of Gaza. The question is, what can you do for constructive results rather than more intransigency and digging in on both sides?
It won't actually change anything on the ground, is the point you're making as well, Laura. I mean, the U.S. maintains that it does want to see a two-state solution, that it wants to negotiate with both parties. The question there is, however, it doesn't look like Prime Minister Netanyahu is interested in that at the moment. And on the other side, of course, who would you negotiate with?
And it feeds his narrative. We stand alone. I mean, Netanyahu is digging in. Rafah is like the root canal that he's determined to have, with anesthesia or without, right? With the ICC against him, with ICJ bringing a case, with even the United States threatening to withhold defensive arms. He's saying he's going to do this. He'll fight with his fingernails, invoking Holocaust imagery. So what can we do to moderate his behavior? I think Jake Sullivan was very clever today by kind of playing the good cop, bad cop thing with regard to the European declaration, which is, he said, we told you so, Israelis. We told you that there's a growing chorus of voices, even friendly countries, who are now calling for statehood. So are we going to see from you, with regard to Rafah, more death and destruction, as Jake Sullivan put it, or precision and pointed kind of operations that we can stand by morally? How you fight this matters. That's been our mantra again and again and again from the United States.
Laura, what about the fact that there does seem to be discontent in Prime Minister Netanyahu's own war cabinet about the fact that there isn't a vision for a post-war Gaza? Is that adding, do you think, any pressure to the Prime Minister to change the current strategy?
Absolutely. Today was like, I don't know, for the Prime Minister, it was like a split screen anxiety dream. Like, on the one hand, you had European friendly nations declaring Palestinian statehood. On the other hand, from within his own country, yes, there's political opposition, but let's look at the families. Let's look at the people. The hostages released the tape today, and they asked the Prime Minister, look into the eyes of these girls. They're 19-year-old girl soldiers who were kidnapped on October 7th. For the first time, their images were released in graphic horror, their faces bloodied. They're wearing their Snoopy pajamas, being dragged out of their beds, bound, described as available to make pregnant by the Hamas gunmen, by the Palestinian gunmen who are taking them. So yes, the pressure is awful, but what will it do to what cause? How can we get to a better place? And that's another thing that Jake Sullivan did, National Security Advisor Sullivan did, which was very clever. What he was saying is, okay, so look, everyone's on a train towards two states, Israel. Why don't you jump on board and at least get something out of it? Pivot toward this mega deal that we've been pushing, the United States, for normalization with Saudi Arabia. We'll get our security pact that we've been pushing for with Saudi Arabia, and you'll have peace with a major Gulf nation, which is a prize for you, Netanyahu. As Biden said to him in the past, take the win.
All right, Laura, as always, really interesting analysis. Thank you so much for joining us on World News America.
Thank you.